Okay, let's hit it. Gonna go kind of off to a wild and actually controversial, potentially highly controversial subject matter tonight. Something that I researched in the early part of my life, late teens, early 20s. And then I did a lot of research of it just prior to getting married. Let's crank this thing up to widescreen and see what we got and see what kind of comments we can make about married priests in the Roman Catholic, within the confines of the Roman Catholic Church. So this is a 60 minutes episode, CBS television, October 20, 2002. Let's fire it up.
With the Catholic Church embroiled in scandals, with the prospect of facing hundreds of millions of dollars in lawsuits over sexual abuse of minors, both the clergy and parishioners have been searching for ways of restoring the credibility of the Church. One subject...
I think I'm actually just going to pause this momentarily. I want to check what is my volume at. Oh, that's fine. I'll leave it right there. Sorry. Let's keep going.
That comes up repeatedly is the Church's hard and fast rule that Roman Catholic priests take a lifelong vow of celibacy, remain unmarried, and refrain from sexual relations. What you may not know is that the celibacy rule is not so hard and fast. There are, right here in the United States, married Roman Catholic priests, and they have the blessing of the Pope. Father Christopher Phillips has been the pastor of Our Lady of the Atonement, a church in San Antonio, Texas, for nearly 20 years.
He has been pastor of the Church of the Lady of the Atonement for nearly 20 years.
Ever since he left the Episcopal Church and converted to Catholicism. He says Mass, he gives communion.
The body and blood of our Lord Jesus Christ, keep an everlasting life.
But unlike most priests, he has a family.
Who was that young man that was calling all over the place for you last night?
5 children, his wife Joanne, and a grandson. What do your kids call you? They call you
5 children plus a grandson. Let's see what kind of a debriefing he's going to give us.
Father?
When in public, in front of other people, yes, they always call me father. Of course, at home, it's dad.
They're aware of the anomaly.
Yes, they've grown up with this. But when they were in school, I remember my son came home once in tears because one of his friends insisted his father could not be a priest. And he said, "Daddy, I kept telling him you're a priest, and he won't believe me."
The only Roman Catholic priests who are allowed to have wives and families are clergymen who converted from other Christian denominations and were already married when they became Catholic. These priests had never taken a vow of celibacy.
Yeah, so it's clergy members from other church branches that have been allowed to come into the Roman Catholic Church and continue their marriage within the confines of the Catholic Church.
Lift up your hearts. Father Phillips, once an Episcopal priest, became a Catholic because he thought the Episcopal Church was becoming too liberal.
The big thing that really got me out of the Episcopal Church into the Catholic Church was the Catholic Church's teaching on abortion, artificial contraception, those moral issues.
Good morning, nice to see you.
The parish in San Antonio has grown under his leadership. He says being married may have helped him as a counselor. You're aware of the problems of marriage, problems of raising children.
Teenagers.
Teenagers, all of those things.
Sometimes it helps if you've been there and you've been through it.
Father Michael Shipe has also been there.
There you go, Tommy. Go, go, go.
Here's Father Michael Shipe. He has 5 sons. A former Lutheran minister, now gone Roman Catholic.
Former Lutheran minister doesn't see any conflict between being a father to his 5 sons and being father to everyone else.
The Lord be with you. When I'm with my parishioners, I'm a priest who happens to be married. At home, I'm a father and a husband who happens to be a priest. Samuel Vincent, I baptize you in the name of the Father.
He's a priest with the Diocese of Venice, Florida. The Catholic Church says it doesn't keep records on exactly how many married priests there are in the U.S., probably only 100 or so. Father John Ellis, formerly an Episcopalian, and his wife Burgess feel a bit like an experiment that's being closely watched by the Church and by other priests.
Most of the priests understand that Burgess and I are pioneers, that we are perhaps allowing the hierarchy of the Church to take a first-hand look at celibacy and married priests and see that married priests can be a happy addition to the Catholic Church.
In fact, the Pope himself approved bestowing the priesthood on these married men. Bishop Joseph Galante is chief spokesman for the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. Is the acceptance of married priests the Church putting its toe in the water on this one?
Well, I can say this: it's putting its toe in the water. It's done it, and it's very interesting that most Catholics have had no problems accepting married men who have been ordained priests.
Now, wouldn't that make sense, though? I mean, they're just ordinary people like you and I. Why not let them enjoy life the way most people do?
Lift up your hearts.
Father Ellis of St. Bernard's Church in Florida says most of his parishioners have no trouble accepting him.
The one question is, why hasn't it happened earlier? Why can't all priests get married?
When Christianity began, there was no vow of celibacy. The Bible suggests that at least one of the apostles, St. Peter, was married.
The first millennium of the Catholic Church, priests were married. By the way, popes were married.
Father Richard McBrien, a professor of theology at Notre Dame, favors...
Yeah, this guy goes through the expose of it here with his debriefing, and then we'll move on to a couple other things. But, yeah, most people don't realize that once you start going through the muck and the mire of history, especially through the dark ages of history, the vow of holy orders and being of celibate and chastate don't come around until about the 11th century. Prior to that, you've got a whole list about yay long of popes and priests that were married eons before this rule was even instituted.
Making celibacy optional. He says celibacy is a man-made rule that has changed over the centuries.
In the Roman Catholic Church, it never became a universal law until the 12th century. Then it became a matter of practicality. Priests and bishops were leaving church property to their children.
Yes. Priests were leaving church property to their children, and the hierarchy did not like that. What's the best way to prevent them from having kids? Oh, we'll make them all celibate so they can't have kids.
So they had to stop that.
So sound economic reasons.
Yes, and now the reason is that celibacy is God's gift to the church, and that it allows the priest to have a closer relationship to Christ and the church.
You say that making celibacy optional would solve a lot of problems within the church. How?
It would allow the Catholic Church to draw from a far wider pool of potential recruits for the priest.
Now, see, the other erroneous concept of, he just said that, it allows the priest to be freed up to concentrate on the vocation of the priesthood. That's about as erroneous as saying, well, I want my dentist to be celibate so that he can concentrate on fixing teeth and cleaning teeth and examining teeth. I want my lawyer to be celibate so that he can concentrate on attorney-type duties. I want my school teacher to be celibate so they can concentrate on schoolwork and educating the children. And I mean, you could take that statement to virtually any profession out there, even some of the high-stress professions out there, and make that argument. And nobody ever advocates for that. I mean, attorneys get married, doctors get married, lawyers get married, garage mechanics get married, janitors get married. What's wrong with this situation?
Priesthood. We're running out of good priests.
About 20,000 men have left the American priesthood in the past 30 years. Most left over the issue of celibacy, adding to a serious shortage of priests.
Okay. And now I'm going to fast forward to another segment here, and we're going to highlight a couple other things, and then we'll end the session. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, it's okay. So it's giving an expose of this guy where same thing. He was a priest, left the priesthood, decided to get married. Now he has a family, and they're interviewing him. The one that I'm more interested in. Scroll. Yeah, kind of. I guess the ironic part for me is this. If you're a priest already and you're celibate and you decide to get married, you have to leave the congregation. They dispose of you, and ironically, they typically replace you with somebody that's married, that has congregated from converted from another denomination. Which in my mind is like, wouldn't you just let that person in that post get married instead of disposing them, because you're replacing them with somebody that's married anyway? Let's go. Okay, yeah, this is the segment right about here. Let's scroll up a bit more. These three guys, let's check it out. A little bit too far. Let's try it.
Young men with sexual and emotional problems with celibacy.
We discuss it in our classes. We discuss it in workshops. Counseling is offered.
Beau Charbonnet has 1 year left at the seminary. Ricardo Phipps just graduated and was ordained a priest. And Joseph Bordelon is the new kid in the school. I don't mean to pry, but have you all had sexual experiences before you made this commitment,
Yes.
before you decided to come to seminary?
You know,
Yes, we've all had sexual experiences before coming to seminary, so we know what the concept of sex is.
you're giving up. Yeah.
Was it difficult for you?
Yeah. You know, I think we'd be lying to say it's not difficult. It's just by our nature. You know, we want to have sex.
If celibacy were optional, which would you choose?
In thinking of the call, celibacy has always been a part of it. A married priesthood for me just doesn't fit.
Yeah, married priesthood doesn't fit in his mind because he doesn't understand the early history of the church up until about, 1130, 1150 AD.
It's taken me 5 years to discern whether or not celibacy is for me, so it'd probably take me another 5 years to discern whether or not...
I'm sorry, I have to chuckle at this one. Forgive me for laughing, but it's like, it's taken me 5 years to discern whether celibacy is right for me, so it'll probably take me another 5 years to discern whether marriage is right for me. Now, let's just pump the brakes for 4.5 seconds here and discuss that one statement. I mean, seriously, if it's taken you 5 years to discern whether this habit is right for you or not, don't you think they're asking just a little bit too much from these people if it's taken me 5 years to figure out if it's right for me? I mean, that seems like a while. I mean, this isn't like a weekend decision. This isn't a month decision. It's taken him 5 years to figure out if this is the correct decision for him. Sounds like it's a bit of a jump to me.
Marriage would be for me. So it would be very difficult for me to say right off the bat that I definitely wouldn't choose that.
There's been a lot of criticism within the church itself about too many homosexuals within the church. You aware of this?
I'm not extremely concerned about there being too many homosexuals in the priesthood. What my concern is that there would be too many people, heterosexual or homosexual, who are not being true to the promise of celibacy.
Father McBrien says it's an open secret that priests...
Okay, let's come back here.
There being...
Let's pause it right here. Ricardo Phipps is the black man to the left. Clayton Beau Chabannet is the one in the middle. And Joseph Bordelon with the tie is all the way to the right. Let's see what's going on here. Here, this is Clayton Chabannet right here. He is still a priest. This is, let's see, I don't know when this was, but this is rather recent. Let's play him for 4.5 seconds here.
Against the back part of the lot was maybe $12,000 in total. This past year, we were raising money for a community center. We hit $260,000. There are people.
Okay, so he's a priest. Oh, Joseph Bordelon. Looks like he's become a Christian counselor in Texas. Let's listen to a little bit of his spiel.
Hi, my name is Joe Bordelon. I'm a licensed professional counselor and founder of Christian Counseling Austin. Christian Counseling Austin provides in-person and video counseling services to the Austin community and throughout the state of Texas from a Christian perspective.
So it looks like he conducts his priestly duties on the side, but I'm guessing he did not take the, he never took ordination, is my best guess on him. Ricardo Phipps. He did take the ordination. He was involved in the church for probably the better part of 12 to 15 years. And now we're seeing where might still be part of the church, but I think he stepped down from his pastoral role. I think he took his vow of celibacy, practiced it as best as he could. Like I said, I don't really have any definitive evidence of this. Maybe he still has pastoral duties on the side that he conducts, and he still is a priest. But based on this picture, I'm thinking he has disposed of that responsibility. Back to the show. So let's see. This is the original recording is 2002. So we've seen Ricardo Phipps, Clayton Beau Chabannet, and we've seen Joseph Bordelon. So ultimately, the priest in the middle is still a priest today. The other two guys ended up falling away. Let's see what else we have here.
Too many homosexuals in the priesthood. What my concern is that there would be too many people, heterosexual or homosexual, who are not being true to the promise of celibacy.
Father McBrien says it's an open secret that priests do have affairs, especially priests in Latin America and Africa.
Celibacy isn't practiced there in large measure. The people understand that the priest has his wife, quotes, his children, his family, and they accept it.
And Rome turns a blind eye.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Don't ask, don't tell.
Could that...
Rome turned a blind eye in Latin America and lets the priest pretty much do whatever he wants. Well, at least in this situation, this bishop is giving the portrayal that he has his wife on the side and they have children type thing, and then Rome turns a blind eye to it and lets them do whatever the heck they want, I guess.
What happened here?
Yes, some of the best priests have very close friendships, and they're good priests. People accept it.
About 75% of American Catholics say they're in favor of ending celibacy.
In favor of ending celibacy. And then giving the size and scope and magnitude of the Roman Catholic Church, and I guess in one sense I'm kind of bashing their rules in one sense, but at the same time I'm not. I'm trying to make an interesting portrayal here. or an expose, if you will, given the size and magnitude of the Catholic Church. This is in my family. The young gentleman in the middle is my great-uncle. The woman with the wide brim hat is my great-grandmother. This woman here is my grandmother. This is my father's mother. And then this is a friend of the family. Ordained in 1935 at 17 years old, took the name of Brother Cyril. I remember as a kid sitting on his lap when he used to visit my grandmother back when I was, 1981, 1982, 1983. And I remember being in 4th grade, because he ended up dying of cancer. I remember being in 4th grade attending his funeral when he was like, oh God, was he like 60 when he died? He died kind of young. The married priesthood, or I should say, the very small married priesthood of the Roman Catholic Church via this recording.